Things are looking downright terrible for Gojo at the end of chapter 232 of JJK. But don't worry Gojo fans, things aren't looking very good for Sukuna either, so at least you have that. This for me is by far the best and most exciting chapter of this entire fight, and I know I've probably said this like the past 2 or 3 chapters, but things really do just keep getting better, so let's jump right into it. The chapter starts with Maharaga's wheel turning a second spin, as everyone watching is anxious for Gojo to end the fight quickly. If you guys remember in the previous chapter, the round of domain clashes was officially over, and we went into round 2 of the fight, where it was just Gojo and Sukuna throwing good old-fashioned hands. This is also when we found out that Maharaga's wheel needs to spin 4 total times for it to fully adapt to Limitless, with 1 spin already happening in 231. So that's why this chapter starts off counting it as the second spin. So right off the bat, we're 2 spins in, only 2 more to go. We're halfway there. Things are happening a lot quicker than we assumed they would, and that's going to be a theme for this entire chapter. So to kick off Gojo's first appearance in the chapter, he's using a brand new move right off the bat, which is always awesome to see, of course. He pretty much creates these orbs out of lapsed blue and collapses them all at once on top of Sukuna while he's standing on the cement pillar, and as Sukuna moves to avoid the orbs crushing in on him, Gojo takes the opportunity to hit Sukuna's blind spot and hits him with a solid kick. Unfortunately for Gojo though, that allows Maharaga's wheel to spin for a 3rd time, leaving only 1 more spin for Maharaga to fully adapt to Limitless, so the timer is coming up very fast. I originally thought that we'd spend at least like another chapter or 2 having the spins be a major plot point for a little bit, but that apparently wasn't in the cards for Gege, and he plans on moving at lightning speed through this chapter. I mean, he's probably making up for like the 2 or 3 weeks that the manga was on break, and you know what, hey, I'm here for it. I don't think anyone's complaining. Well, as Gojo and Sukuna continue their fight, we then cut to Yuji and the gang watching everything go down, and Yuji actually asks a very important question that I'm really glad is finally being answered here, kind of, and you'll see what I mean in a second. He asks Kusakabe if Maharaga adapts to abilities when he fully understands how it functions, or if he simply just needs to be hit by it several times to meet the requirements to adapt. Essentially, he's asking if Maharaga needs 4 spins to adapt to Limitless, because that just happens to be the number of times he needs to be hit by it, and that's the only requirement that needs to be met, just being hit by it a certain amount of times, or if he needs 4 spins because that just happens to be how long it takes for Maharaga to understand and react to the technique. So is the amount of times that Maharaga gets hit by an ability what eventually triggers the adaptation, or does it depend on Maharaga understanding the ability, which would make the amount of spins needed to adapt vary? So considering that question, Kusakabe points out that Gojo is only using blue at the moment, but honestly doesn't seem sure on how to answer Yuji's question. That's when Kashimo hops in and says that both are possible, and that's all that really matters. So there are 2 things I'm taking away from this statement, because this is clearly Gege speaking through Kashimo here in my opinion. Gege is either trying to leave a layer of mystery to the real intricacies of Maharaga's ability, potentially to set up a big reveal later on, or, and I think this is a more likely scenario, he's simply trying to tell us that it doesn't matter and we shouldn't really worry too much on how Maharaga's ability works. The important thing is that it exists and it's about to cause some major problems. Pretty much saying you don't have to know how it works, you just have to know that it works, which, you know, whatever, I'm down with that. Again, not exactly positive that this is what Gege is trying to say through Kashimo, but that's just kind of what I got out of it. Let me know in the comments below if you interpreted something different from this statement from Kashimo. Getting back to what Kusakabe said about Gojo only using blue though, it turns out that Gojo's doing this intentionally, because he's really doing it just to set up Sukuna to catch him off guard with the reversal red blast, meaning he's kind of warming Sukuna up, making him think that he's only using blue right now, and surprise him with the red. And that's exactly what he does when he launches it through a cement pillar that's standing between him and Sukuna, or seemingly launches it through a pillar. We'll get to that in a second. It turns out though that at the very last moment, Sukuna managed to use domain amplification, which prevented him from getting hit with the full force of the attack. The really interesting thing is though, that Sukuna explains that since reversal red is an enhanced version of Gojo's curse technique, referring to Limitless of course, it doesn't fully neutralize the blow, leaving him with a decent amount of damage still. This was a pretty cool detail in my opinion. It always surprises me how well Gege can build on the already wonderfully complex power system of Jujutsu, literally mid-fight. Like, you can easily tell that Gege is definitely Togashi inspired in the way he just continues to build the power system even after it's already firmly established. And I'm a complete sucker for interesting power systems, so I'm literally never gonna get upset when we take a break mid-fight to help explain a new detail that we haven't heard before. So from this interaction, we now know that amplified or enhanced versions of a curse technique doesn't fully get neutralized by domain amplification, which gives it a much needed nerf in my opinion, because I always thought that domain amplification was pretty broken, but you know, that's just me. Moving on. Well, Sukuna starts doing what he does best and taunts Gojo for a bit for foiling his surprise attack, but literally out of freaking nowhere, Sukuna is point blank blasted with a reversal red from behind. It turns out that Gojo had actually launched a reversal red all the way around the building that they were in and surprised Sukuna, who thought that he had already blocked it. Such a hype ass moment for Gojo fans, and honestly things only get more insane from here. Immediately after this, Gojo shocks everyone including me by nailing Sukuna in the gut with a black flash. You heard that right, black flash, something that we haven't seen in God knows how long, making a comeback in the most epic way possible. So just to give a quick rundown on what black flash is, because again it has been a while, black flash is a phenomena in Jujutsu that greatly amplifies the user's physical strike when cursed energy is applied to it within 1/1,000,000th of a second. So black flash is essentially a distortion in space that occurs when cursed energy is applied within 0.0000001 seconds. Might have added one too many zeros, but whatever, you get the point. So it's when cursed energy gets applied in that fractions of a second to a physical hit. When a sorcerer is able to achieve this, their cursed energy flashes black, and the destructive power of their strikes is equal to a normal hit to the power of 2.5. So greatly amplifies the punch, and it's also said to be when a sorcerer is truly in quote unquote the zone. They're really in their element and they're at their very best. This finally seems to put a devastating blow on Sukuna as his eyes turn completely white, signaling that he's straight up passed out from the hit. This would have been the absolutely perfect time for Gojo to finish off Sukuna, but unfortunately in that moment, Maharaga's wheel turns for the final time and Gojo gets trapped in shadows. This is when Maharaga pops out and just gives Gojo a major slash through the body, or across the body is a better way to put it I think. It doesn't seem like a critical blow or anything, but it's really hard to tell considering the angle of where we're seeing this slash occur. But either way, here we have Sukuna getting bailed out for the second time by Maharaga now, with the first time of course being Gojo finally hitting Sukuna with Unlimited Void, only to have the domain destroyed. I mean, I can already see all the fraud Kuna memes coming back in full force, as it really does seem like Sukuna would have been done for by now on several occasions had he not taken Megumi's body. I mean, on the other hand though, Sukuna still hasn't revealed his true curse technique, along with a few other tricks he probably has up his sleeve, so you can make the argument for both. I'm not here to, you know, support one side or the other, I'm just here for a great fight. No break next week though, which is great news, and we're likely gonna start the official fight between Gojo and Maharaga for the final time.